Disclaimer, everything I say in this video is merely subjective. It is nothing but my personal opinion. If you only clicked on this video to comment Metroid bad or something like that, I kindly ask of you to piss off. Everyone else can stay. Well, it happened. Some time ago. I'm a little bit late on that. Metroid Prime 4 was finally announced. And that got me thinking, should I replay the games to prepare for it? Well, since I'm a YouTuber, I probably should. Might as well turn this idea into content after all. So I grabbed my Switch, fired up the Prime remaster. Yes, that's a table saw. Remember that I can't record Switch Lite footage without a capture card, dumped the game and tried to emulate it, and experienced way too many crashes during my test run where I wasn't even recording. I was just about to scrap this idea, wait a while and make a video on Anton Blast when that comes out, but then I remembered something. Prime Hack, a fork of the Dolphin emulator that specializes in emulating Wii and GameCube games, specifically versions of the Prime games that came out on those systems. In addition to just emulating the games, it also allows you to add custom texture packs and even makes a mouse and keyboard setup pretty enjoyable. So, with all of that shit out of the way, let's get into the game. We start above a planet called Talon 4, where we respond to a distress call of a space pirate frigate. Upon arrival, we get to use one of this game's main gimmicks, the visor. Right now, the only modes we have access to are combat and scan. Using the latter, we activate these targets, enter the frigate, manually repressurize the airlock and... What the fuck happened here? These guys are just straight up dead, this one's barely hanging in there, and that one still seems to be able to walk. So let's fix that. Moving further into the frigate, we come across a safe room. Now why would that be there? Oh, that's why. Well, now we know what killed all the pirates. This fight acts as an introduction to how boss fights work, and the downright horrible missile fire rate. Luckily, you can sort of rapid fire missiles by cancelling the reload animation with the power beam, firing another missile and then repeating the whole thing. After the queen dies, it falls into the frigate's reactor, starting the mandatory escape sequence. I mean, it wouldn't be a Metroid game without one, would it? So we run through the slowly collapsing frigate, try to evade swarms of parasites, and eventually enter this room where we come face to face with this abomination. Quick explanation for those who have no idea who this is. This is Ridley, the leader of the space pirates, who is also responsible for killing our protagonist's parents. After the events of the original Metroid where he was killed, he was resurrected and turned into this abomination called Meta Ridley. After he escapes, we swing ourselves through the room, reach this elevator, and get hit by an energy blast that strips us of all our equipment, leaving us with only our power suit and power beam. After we finally make it outside, we see Ridley flying towards the planet's surface, and since we don't have anything better to do, we decide to follow him. After landing on Talon 4, we move through the overworld and enter the Chozo ruins, where we then have to defeat this machine called the Hive Mecha in order to get the missiles back. With the missiles, we can get the area map as well as the morph ball, which then brings us to this room where we come across a scan puzzle that we can't complete yet. Moving to another room, we have to complete another scan puzzle, which gives us access to the charge beam. Oh, hello, how are you doing? After that little distraction, we get to the next mini-boss, the Incinerator Drone. This fight is pretty easy, but the pissed off insects do make it a little bit annoying. Though they have every right to be upset, considering the drone is just torching their nest. After the fight, we get the bombs, which allow us to break sandstone walls. And yes, there are materials in this game that you actually have to account for. Anyways, going back to this room, we can finally solve the scan puzzle, which gives us access to this room. Alright, time for the second boss. Flagra is a little bit more complex than the Parasite Queen, but it's still a pretty manageable fight. Pro tip, if you scan enemies, you can get some tips on how to defeat them. The same also goes for bosses. To defeat Flagra, you have to hit these mirrors with either a missile or a charge shot in order to flip them. This fight is designed in a way where you would have to walk all the way to these mirrors, lock onto them, and then flip them from close range. However, since I'm aiming my shots with a mouse here, I can just do this. Once all of the mirrors have been flipped, Flagra will collapse and these bomb slots will be exposed. After dropping a bomb, Flagra will get up again and reactivate the mirrors. Repeat this 3 times and we can obtain the Varia suit, which reduces damage taken and allows us to enter hot rooms without being turned into a cup of instant noodles. Speaking of hot rooms... Welcome to the Magmore Caverns. I hope you like this area because you're going to come here quite often. Heading through the caverns, we quickly reach another elevator, which brings us to the next area, Fendrana. This one features some pretty annoying enemies, like the Shigit, who you should just run past in order to save time, because it takes a while to kill these. You will eventually come across the Boost Ball, a power-up that allows you to gain a small speed boost while in ball form. Of course, in my infinite wisdom, I forgot that the jump button is used in order to charge the boost. Why am I mentioning this? Well, it's because I put the innate spring ball ability on the jump button as well. So now whenever I try to boost, it looks like this. After making it back to Fendrana's main room, we see Ridley flying off in the distance, so we follow him again. Once in Magmor, we take a different route and end up in a Talon overworld where we find space jump boots which act as a double jump. Now, I want you to guess where the next mandatory power-up is located. Alright, time's up. If you guessed Fendrana, then you are unfortunately right. So, you know what that means. I literally just came through here. While backtracking through Magmor, we pick up this thing. Let's just ignore that for now, it'll become important later. Back in Fendrana, we move through this temple section and eventually reach this area filled with... Oh great, now there's a big one. The Sheegoth is luckily a lot more manageable than the smaller ones. The fight just consists of waiting until it uses a breath attack, after which it starts to hyperventilate, just like me when I had my blood drawn recently and decided to not lay down without knowing that the doctor needed 5 goddamn vials instead of the usual amount. Anyways, we take down the Goth, obtain the Wave Beam, and then get introduced to this game's other major gimmick, beam swapping. Unlike the 2D games, Metroid Prime doesn't allow the beams to stack. In addition to that, their effects have also been altered. Instead of being a regular upgrade that allows you to shoot through walls, the Wave Beam in Prime is an electric projectile that has a slow fire rate. But not as bad as the missiles, nothing is worse than that. To compensate for this, it deals more damage than the Power Beam. We're now also able to open these purple doors, but we can only do so with the Wave Beam. So now that that's taken care of, we can go to this room where we have to reach the center platform by raising the water level. We are now faced with 3 doors. One of them isn't powered, so that one is off limits for now. Another one leads to a save room, which I would highly recommend you use right now. The final door leads into a corridor where you are suddenly ambushed by a space pirate. You better brace yourself, because this is a trip you won't come back from for a while. In the next room you are attacked by even more pirates. Going through another corridor, you'll enter this room. It should become clear by now that you are currently moving into a research facility. Mowing through waves of pirates, you will eventually come across a large room which houses both a safe room and a power-up, the Super Missile. After obtaining the Super Missile, we head outside for a brief moment where we are confronted by flying pirates. After they go down, we head even deeper into the facility and come across the franchise's namesake. Luckily, this version of the titular Metroid is downright pathetic, as unlike in the other games, we don't even need something like an ice beam to kill them. Some pirates later, we arrive in this room where we have to deactivate a 3-layered force field in order to get our next power-up, the Thermal Visor.
Bravo 6. Going dark.
Oh, come on! Fuck! Alright, this isn't funny, get me out of here. Holy shit, that sure was something. Well, whatever the boss of this area is, it can't be worse than that. Am I seriously fighting against a bunch of rocks? So after the stone talus goes down, we get a spider ball which lets us use these magnetic strips on the walls. Then we use this conveniently placed elevator, move from Magmor again, and pop out in the Talon overworld. It is here where we stumble upon the impact crater, a location that I could have entered way earlier if my brain hadn't immediately switched to autopilot and forced me through the right door. It is here where we find another one of these strange things. Like I said, they'll be important later. So anyways, we head back to the Chosen Ruins, enter the Mothball room, go a little further and enter this room where we find the Wave Buster. Heading deeper into the ruins, we come across another room that we couldn't enter before, complete the half-pipe puzzle and then enter this room where we have to face off against a ghost. They can only be damaged with the power beam and they do turn invisible sometimes, but since we only have to fight one here, it's not too big of a problem. After clapping the ghost, we enter another half-pipe room. Get the ice beam, head back to the overworld and enter this wreckage. Does it look familiar? Well, it should, because this is the frigate we were on the start of the game. Unfortunately, it's been flooded now, meaning that we can't progress here. At least we get an energy tank for our efforts. In order to get through the frigate, we need a power-up that makes underwater areas more accessible. And now, guess where it is? Yep, Fendrana. Who would have thought? I'm really starting to hate this place. So back in Fendrana, we made use of the ice beam to get access to a new part of the region. Okay, and where does this lead to? Nope. Going down the right path leads us into this huge cave which houses a new enemy type, the Hunter Metroid. However, they pose no threat at all because, well, I have the ice beam now. Continuing through the caves, we eventually reach the power-up we came here for, the gravity suit. Not only does it improve our underwater mobility, it also makes it easier to see while submerged. And now it's time to head back to the overworld. Back in the frigate wreckage, we finally go up the former elevator shaft, exit the wreckage through a vent, and find an elevator that brings us to a new area. The Phazon mines are another pirate-controlled facility. This one features an overabundance of these stealth pirates as well as a new enemy variant, the Troopers. These pirates are somewhat stronger than their regular counterparts, and they are also immune to every weapon type except for one, that being the one which corresponds to their color. For instance, these Wave Troopers can only be damaged with the Wave Beam or the Wave Buster. Moving deeper into the facility, we come across Power Troopers, a pretty annoying spider ball puzzle, and another enemy type. This is a Phazon Elite, a mutated pirate with the ability to absorb every type of beam attack.
Talk to the hand.
He does have one glaring weakness though, that being the turret on his shoulder. After some time, the Elite goes down and we can proceed even further. After narrowly escaping
Gas.
we enter this room which features one of the most annoying enemies in the game. Oh, you don't see it? Well, here it is. After the drone's taken care of, we go through this maze and unlock the power bomb, also known as the Not bad. And now to eliminate the witnesses. Sadly, this gap is too big to jump over, though there seems to be something here. Well, I should go and get another power-up first.
Nice.
Back in the overworld, we enter this room where we find the X-ray visor. This one allows us to see hidden things such as the entire fucking area behind these walls. Ghost time. With the help of the X-ray visor, fighting these guys is actually a lot easier as you can always see them now. But before we leave this room, there is something I'm going to pick up real quick. I swear, some of these are really stupid. Heading back into the Chosen Ruins, we kill some more ghosts. Alright, this is starting to get annoying. Pick up this thing so we don't have to get it later, solve a scan puzzle, kill some more ghosts, and get another one of these. Well, that's it for the detours, let's get back into Magmore. Okay, how the hell are you supposed to figure that one out? The next power-up requires us to do a little boost ball puzzle. Okay, now just drop down and place the new— wait, no! Finally! Now we get the last main weapon, the plasma beam. This thing melts, both figuratively and literally. Alright, enough fooling around, let's get back to business. Now we can use our X-ray visor to see these hidden platforms. We are now in the caverns of this area, populated with Metroids and filled with Phazon. After being fooled by an ammo refuel station, we come across an actual save room and mentally prepare ourselves for the next boss fight. This fight is one of the best in the game. The Omega Pirate is essentially just a bigger Phazon Elite, having a pretty similar moveset. Your goal is to destroy his armor, which can be done pretty fast with the power bomb. After his armor is gone, he will become invisible and spawn some troopers. After a while, he will appear over a Phazon puddle and try to heal himself. However, in order to target and hurt him, you will need to use the X-ray visor. After he finally dies, he collapses onto us and gives us our final power-up, the Phazon suit. This thing makes us completely immune to Phazon. And now it's finally time for the annoying part. Remember those things we picked up? Well, they're going to get important now. Metroid Prime? Great game, absolutely love it. There's just one thing I really don't like about it, and that's the endgame artifact hunt. There are 12 artifacts in total, all of which are scattered across the planet. These things tremendously slow down the game, which is why, if an obtainable artifact is on the way, you should always try to get it. This makes things a lot more bearable, as I now only have to get 6. Actually, make that 5. Okay. Alright, let me just make things more bearable for you. Kill the mutated Phazon Elite.
Hans, get the Flammenwerfer!
Kill the ghost and move the statue. Melt the ice on this statue, blow up this wall, destroy the base on this tower, and finally return to the impact crater. Alright, now we can enter the crater. Wait a second, wasn't there something else? I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, right. Let me just fry that chicken real quick. After banishing Ridley Scott to the Shadow Realm, we finally gain access to the Impact Crater, the game's final area. Okay, I guess I'm not immune against highly concentrated Phazon then. Ew, what the fuck are you supposed to be? Well, time for the final boss, I guess. Metroid Prime, no, not the game, I mean this thing, has decided to copy the ability of the troopers and is now only vulnerable to the beam type that matches its current color. This fight takes quite a while, mostly because this thing seems to have eaten way too many medkits with a dose of Baja Blast. What makes the fight a lot more bearable though is the existence of the beam upgrades. The super missile is a little tricky to aim, but it does work. The flamethrower has a surprisingly short range, but it still does its job. The icebreaker's freezing effect can be pretty helpful at times, and the wave buster just melts this thing. After we deplete the health bar of an average Elden Ring boss, the crab crashes through a wall and the fight is over. Well, at least the first part is. If the first phase existed to test how well you could use your beams, then this phase is here to check if you know your way around the visor system. Metroid Prime is invulnerable to all attacks. In order to actually do something against it, you will have to dodge its own attacks first. After this goes on for a while, MP will spawn a puddle of Phazon on the ground and cloak itself. However, while doing so, there will always be one visor where it remains visible. Once you found it, you step into the Phazon puddle, which triggers hyper mode and ubercharges your arm cannon, allowing it to shoot pure Phazon. And now, there is just one thing left to do. It's time to unload. After MP goes down, it steals the Phazon suit in one last attempt to harm us and then blows itself up. But of course we already escaped from enough exploding frigates and planets to survive this, so it's not too big of a deal. And that's the... Okay. This is... It's pretty nice. And that's Metroid Prime, one of the best games of all time. Of course, nowadays the standards have changed a little. I mean, just look at the score of the remaster when compared to the original. Still, this was a really good game, and I'd absolutely love to see Nintendo make a remaster of both Prime 2 and 3 before 4 comes out. But of course, the likelihood of that happening is about as high as Xenoblade X getting a Switch port.